Well, class, this is going to be the first of what will amount to 12 individual lectures about the individual chapters of the book. And before we start this one, I just want to give you a little overview of the process and how you can use these videos. Obviously, when we're in class, we're going to be doing a lot of discussion and a lot of application of ideas as we go forward. However, I always found it useful in my career to be able to go back and look at my own notes, or in the case here, to have a video that said to me, this is what I should be looking for. And that's what this is. This series of videos is generally going to be maybe 3 to 5 minutes in length. They're not that long. But their objective is to review with you at a location and time that is convenient for you what it is that we were trying to draw out of the individual chapters of the book. Now, sometimes they'll be exactly on point. This is what the book was trying to tell you, and this is what we're going to review. Sometimes we may be drawing on different aspects of what the book may be showing. The book may be going on more in depth than I'll be doing in these discussions, obviously, because you have more time to read the book. Now, these lectures are no substitute for reading the book. You want to read the book and use this together with them. Obviously, I love it when everybody comes to class too, because this helps you understand what we're doing in the class and why we're doing it. Okay, so that's the purpose of these lectures. And also, just as it was with the case study, all the slides are going to be available to you so that you can follow along yourself. You might want to make notes on the slides, etc., as you go forward. Okay, so this is chapter number 1. We've already had our first class together, and this is somewhat of a review of that class. Chapter number 1 kind of lays out, this is why we study ethics and this is why we study law. Okay? But what we want to really bring out of this introduction, so to speak, of the idea of ethics in the law is the following. The first thing is that the facts are always very important. And the thing is, it cannot be stressed enough, okay, as you go forward educationally and professionally. Okay? That, to quote, I believe it was Richard Nixon, okay, reinforced by Ronald Reagan, that you trust everybody, but you verify everything as well. Okay? There is no fact that you will be given now in your career that you will not doubt. Okay? Every fact has to be fact-checked. Somebody tells it to you, and they say, trust me, you automatically know you better be checking that fact. Okay? So every fact, okay, after you observe it and you identify it, you have to fact-check it. Okay? That goes without saying. The next most important thing when you're discussing ethics in the law is understanding that you have to frame the issue. Okay? And what that really means is you're communicating to the reader, to your fellow classmate, okay? And it can be verbal, it can be this, over the internet, whatever. You're communicating what the problem is, or the opportunity. Now, the reason I put problem/opportunity is the following. We're all MBA students now here together. There is never a time that there is a problem. And I know I sound like I'm banging on the table. I want you always to remember that. There are no problems in the world. There are merely opportunities for us to show that there is a way for us to either monetize something or to improve something. Okay? Never again in your life will you say to somebody, that's a problem. Okay? You will always say to them, that's an opportunity. Okay? So let's always remember that. This is the last time that I will ever use the word problem in either the course or any one of these lectures. Always opportunities. Next, how do we identify our opportunities? The most important thing you have to understand is not everybody wants the same opportunity. Not everybody has the same opportunity applying to them. And those folks that the opportunity applies to is, or are, called stakeholders. These are the people that we're concerned about. Okay? So we want to identify the stakeholder. Frame the issue. We say, this is the issue. That's grand. But what you really have to say is, it's an issue for a certain person. Right? Because just as you think of yourself as going through life, you don't necessarily care about everything that's going on in the world. But there is a set of things that are important to you, okay, and are relevant to you, and you're a stakeholder. So you want to always identify who the stakeholder is. For this person, it is a relevant issue. Obviously, you're identifying the issue, but stakeholder. Now, the next thing is the following, okay? As we do our analysis going forward, you really have to understand what that stakeholder's environment is. In business, okay, one of the things you have to think about is the following, okay? Think of the business that you're discussing as being a living and breathing organism. Let me stop there for a second and explain what I mean by that. When I used to practice, I used to tell folks when they set up a business, it was like they got another child. They just gave birth to another child. Because the most important thing that they will do, always, is respect the business. Okay, I want you to take that one away too. Respect the business. The business has its own checking account. The business does its own tax returns. Okay, it's a separate, living, breathing entity. Okay, so given the fact that it is a living and breathing entity, it has an environment that it functions in. Okay, so when we identify what the opportunity is, we've identified the person or business that's being impacted by that opportunity. The next then question becomes, what environment are they functioning in? Right? That becomes very important. Okay? Because if you think about it, if any living organism doesn't have oxygen, it can't live. If it doesn't have food, it can't live. Well, business is the same way. If they don't have money coming in, if they don't have materials coming in, they can't make things and they can't produce things. Okay? So the environment, the business environment, is just as if it was a biological organism, except the food is money, the food is supplies. Okay? What in a living and breathing organism to make energy is mitochondria. In our case, it's going to be people. Okay? So just think of it as a living and breathing organism. It's another child that you might have, or it's another, in-law. Maybe that's not the best one to choose, but it's another person that's in your family unit. Okay? Now, it now flows that if you follow that you've adopted this person or entity into your life, okay, that any discussion that we're going to have going forward is going to be a discussion of how that organism, that business, now reacts to its environment. And de facto, by reacting to its environment, it has changed its environment. And so, if I was to put anything down the bottom here, it is always remember that everything is dynamic. Everything is constantly changing as we go forward. Okay? So, framing the issue becomes now a first step, right? Of you recognizing that there's an opportunity for some people or some things, okay, that are in a certain environment that they will now change. Okay, so you see how that all flows together? Okay? Now, how do we frame the issue? Okay? Well, you frame the issue by asking some basic questions. Okay? And those questions are who, what, where, when, why, and how. Okay? These are your best friends now going forward. When any fact comes to you or any situation is going to be presented to you, one of these 6 ideas should always pop into your head. Okay? All right. The other thing that you should get out of this first chapter is the need for effective communication with every word works. You can have the greatest idea in the world, but if you cannot communicate it, nobody will ever know about it. They'll never care about it. It'll just go to your grave with that great idea. Okay, so that's unacceptable to us. All right? So, how do we effectively communicate? Well, the first thing is we're always going to be linear. And by linear, I mean that everything has a beginning, a middle, and an end. There is never a situation where you're going to juggle these around. Okay? Because the reader is always looking for the beginning, the middle, and the end. You want to be clear. In other words, you don't obfuscate, you don't create confusion. We're looking for clarity. Let's say that you have adverse facts or issues presented to you. Don't hide it. Okay? Put them out there and say, this is the facts and they're against us. They wouldn't be asking you to review the situation if all the facts were positive. They wouldn't need you. So you, by very definition of our educational experience here, you're going to be brought into a situation, okay, where there are negative facts going on. Things adverse to you are happening. Okay? The other thing you always want to do is you want to remain on issue. Okay? If you've identified an issue as being the pertinent one for our purposes going forward, okay, either ethical or legal variety, okay? And they discuss them in the book, okay? As you think about that, as you analyze it, stay on issue. Stay on that issue. Don't discuss 18 other things. Stay on the one that really matters. So if you identified it, okay, that means when you identify it, I, as an educated individual, have determined this is what we got to look at. Okay? Remain on that fact because your thought process is worth something. Okay? That's why you were hired. Okay? Other people may say, no, you should look over here, you should look over here, look over here. If you really look at it and you say, this is it, then you have to be able to defend it, but that's where you should remain. Okay? Remain on issue, stay focused. Okay? If other people come up with better ideas, sure, you're going to go with them. Okay? But don't just surrender your own ideas because somebody gives you a lateral hit, so to speak. Okay? Now, next, we're always going to use the active voice. The passive voice is to be, right? I have done this, etc., etc., etc. Okay? Active voice. We did this. We saw this. Okay? We reviewed this. We researched this. Okay? It's what you did. Okay? So tell people that. Okay? The active voice has a strength behind it. Okay? And that's what we want to start to use. The idea of this communication, and I cannot say it enough, is the following. And we're going to learn, and we will write. And you shouldn't be frightened by that. The idea of learning to write effectively using these guidelines. Okay? And you all have your own style and skills, so we're only improving on the skills that you've already got. Okay? The idea of this is the following. To verbally say something is great, but to write it down gives it the force of the written word. And that's really what we want to have here. You want to be able to have it so that as you go forward with your career, okay, and you really believe in something, you can write it down and you can get it to halfway around the world. And they'll look at it and they go, this person really thought about this, and we can't just ignore it. Okay? So that's really what I want you to take out of the first chapter. It's these ideas that as we look at law, when we look at ethics, these are the techniques that we're going to be applying to that group of events. Okay? Very good. We'll see you soon in chapter 2.